What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mercedes-Benz Postgame Live. I'm Michelle Margot alongside Todd Zeal. The Mets get swept by the Dodgers out in L.A. by a final score of 8-2. They extend their losing streak to 8 games. The bats are quiet. Ohtani was dominant. We're going to break it all down. But first, let's go back out to Dodger Stadium, take a look at our Cliff Notes. Pick it up in the second inning. One on. Ha-Seong Kim drills the pitch from Clay Holmes deep to right field, and it just clears the wall for a 2-run shot. Dodgers jump out to a 2-0 lead. Fifth inning, 2 on. MJ Melendez in his Mets debut sends the pitch from Shohei Ohtani into right field. Hops over the wall for a ground rule double. Carson Bench scores, and the Mets trail 2-1. Top of the 6th, Ohtani sits down Luis Robert Jr., Brett Beatty, and Bo Bichette to strike out the side here. 10 Ks on the night for Ohtani. Bottom of the 6th, Teoscar Hernandez drills the pitch from Tobias Myers deep to right field and out for a solo shot. The Dodgers take a 3-1 lead. Bottom of the 8th now, bases loaded. Dalton Rushing hammers the pitch from Devin Williams deep to center field and out for a grand slam, and the Dodgers complete the sweep. So, Todd, let's start with the series as a whole here. Dodgers arguably the best team in baseball. How do you think the Mets stacked up against them this year?
Well, look, the Dodgers are 14-4. The Mets have lost 8 in a row. It's pretty clear right now that there's a big gap between the Dodgers and the Mets, at least the way the Mets have played as of late. And you go to you really look at the Dodgers, and look, there was a lot of talk about it the last 2 years, defending champions. They continue to do things in the offseason to make themselves better. But the amount of depth that they bring to the ballpark every day is a big difference maker for them. I think the Mets in Game 1 and Game 2 had good quality starting pitching. I think David Peterson in Game 1 against Wrobleski had a result that really didn't show how well he pitched. The ball that could have been turned by Simeon turns into an extra out and then a 3-run homer, which was really the difference in that game. You saw great pitching by Nolan McLean yesterday. You saw very good pitching by Clay Holmes again tonight, but they were matched, one by one. The first 2 guys go 8 innings for the Dodgers, Wrobleski and Yamamoto, and then Shohei dominant for 6 innings with 10 Ks tonight. So the amount of depth that they bring on a day-to-day basis means you've got to be on top of your game. You can't let mistakes happen. You got to be able to drive in runs when you get opportunities. And right now, that's what's not happening for this Mets team.
Yeah, the offense was struggling even before. What do you think specifically the offense needed to do? I mean, this is what they did during this Dodgers series. 3 runs scored in the entire series, 132 batting average. I mean, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie. And the runs scored for L.A., obviously 8 on tonight, made it a little bit more lopsided. And as I said, the 3-run homer by Paez in Game 1, that's, another 3 runs that may have made this a little bit more evenly matched. And that's why I said it was evenly matched in a lot of ways, at least regards to the fact that the Mets had good starting pitching. That is probably the bright spot of this series. What is the glaring issue right now is the Mets are not able to put up runs and not able to drive in runs. They're not putting rallies together. Some of the at-bats, as we've talked about, look a little bit in between, a little bit jumpy in motion in times. Where you're going against the world champions, you've got quality pitching on the mound, and that runs are a premium. You tend to try to do a little bit more, and you've seen some of the Mets go out of what I think is their comfortable zone when they're locked in and feeling good at the plate. And so there's just been a big gap in their ability to score runs and be competitive in these games when they need to get the big hits, and they just haven't been able to do it.
Well, just from a big picture standpoint, obviously the Mets struggling right now, but the Dodgers are who they're going to need to get past in the postseason if it comes down to that. Shohei Ohtani, I mean, just absolutely dominant. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. That was the first time since June 2023, his first time as a Dodger with 10 or more strikeouts. Was that Mets struggling, or was that Shohei Ohtani being Shohei Ohtani?
A little combination, honestly, because I thought they put together some really good at-bats that turned out to be strikeouts. I mean, Lindor had a 10-11 pitch at-bat in his second at-bat that turned out to be a strikeout. And it was something that Shohei's got 100 miles an hour with his fastball when he wants it. He got the sweeper going as the game went on, and he's got the forkball to go with. He's got 7 pitches. The guy is a freak. I think there's this is the one evidence that there might be alien life out there, because this guy just doesn't seem human. He can do everything. He decided to take the night off from the plate. Instead, just go out there, 6 innings, 10 punch-outs. But look, the Mets had a couple of good at-bats. Carson Bench had a nice at-bat against him. Lindor had a couple of good at-bats against him. And they were able to get Melendez with a couple of doubles against him to get on the board. And, if there are some other things, Alvarez, forced out at second base on a bench ball that could have been a base hit. That could have been a 2-run inning. They could have been even with Shohei. So a lot of things that didn't quite go the Mets' way. But I thought they battled him okay, even though they ended up on the short end of it, because the guy is just a dominant pitcher.
Yeah, how difficult of an at-bat is he? Obviously, we hear about Ohtani all the time, but to actually watch him in this game, and the only 3 Mets that had ever faced him as a pitcher going into this game was Bo Bichette, Luis Robert Jr., and Marcus Semien.
Right, all guys from outside of the Mets organization, because the Mets in the past couple of years, when Shohei has been doing both pitching and hitting, have not had an opportunity to face him until now. Now they know what the hype is about. As I said, I think they went in with a pretty good game plan. They were more aggressive on the fastball tonight, but they weren't able to square them up. His fastball, even if you're aggressive on it at 100 miles an hour with some life to it, is still a difficult pitch to square up. So some of the at-bats went longer. They had some good at-bats against him, but at the end of the day, the stuff played out.
Yeah, it certainly did. Well, we're just getting started here on Mercedes-Benz Postgame Live. In this game, a lot to talk about. Devin Williams pitches for the first time since April 7th, gives up a grand slam. We're going to hear from the manager, Carlos Mendoza. It's all coming up. We'll be right back. Obviously, some frustration there from the manager. What stood out to you most about that post-game press conference?
I think it's finally Carlos at a point where you can't make an excuse anymore. You can't say, hey, we're going to turn it around, or the preparation's good, because, look, he's one of the most honest guys that ever addresses the press. And in a place like this, when the team loses 2 or 3 in a row, it's one thing. When the team loses 8 in a row and you see the difference in the caliber of what the Dodgers have been able to do with their depth and with the ability to get you in a lot of different ways, it just kind of shows some of the holes that are right now showing up for this Mets team. So he's not, he doesn't want to sit back and make excuses anymore. And I liked what he said at the end. First of all, in the middle of it, he said, hey, talk is cheap. You got to show it on the field. That's A. And then B, he said the guys are pissed and they're frustrated. And I want them to be. Of course he wants them to be, because there's no other way to come out of this other than playing your way out of it. These guys can't talk their way out of it. They can't prepare their way out of it. They've got to be able to do it on the field, between the lines, when they have the opportunity. And right now they haven't been able to do it. And I think one of the things that frustrated him, you could kind of read it in his body language, and it's been something that's been persistent over the course of this losing streak, is it's not just the other team beating them, it's them making small mistakes that end up being big mistakes, and that end up being making it seem like, hey, are they not paying attention? Are they not quite prepared? Is their head somewhere else? And so that, I think, gets more frustrating for a manager than even physical mistakes, or the effort is there and it's not, you're not coming up with it. That's one thing. When you're also seeing the mental mistakes go along with it, I think that can get frustrating.
So after an 8-game losing streak, Mets have this clubhouse right now where there's so many different veterans. How do they keep it together when there's so many different veterans and they're all new?
Well, they're all trying to get used to their own style within the context of being on a team. So that is going to take a little bit of an effort, certainly. But there are guys that have done this before, that have been through struggles before. And you've got a guy like Semien, who we've talked about a lot, who's just kind of, a grown up in the room. He's the leader. He's the guy that's been through ups and downs. He's won in the past, and he's a guy that's very level-headed. But you heard him say yesterday, hey, that some of this gets frustrating and some of this, has to stop. And then you've got young guys that are trying to learn what it's like to succeed at the big league level or get challenged at the big league level, like Carson Bench. The guys that are the guys that are sort of the in-between that, which the Beatty, Vientos kind of mix, and even Lindor. So, to a point, that have been here before, that you've seen the greatness of them as New York Mets, and you thought it was going to take a level, a step up a level, and they've been struggling, and they don't seem to know their own character as a part of this team yet. That's the part where you're like, hey, that's got to come together and gel again, because those guys were guys that you kind of figured were, hey, it's a given. Those guys are going to be good, and those guys are going to be solid. And we've seen the struggles, with Beatty, I think, is in between. Vientos, really good, and then 0 for 23. Those kinds of things right now are exacerbating this team trying to find a way to gel as a group.
I'm not sure if it's, they're certainly getting tested. I'm not sure if it's better to get tested at the beginning of the year or the end of the year. Either way.
Probably now. I would say that if there was any silver lining, and I think that's a good point, is that it's April 15th. Nobody else in this division is running away with things and are 14-4 like the Dodgers are. That said, you're running out of time. You're going to go play a Cubs team that's still a good team. It's not the Dodgers. Maybe that lifts them a little bit, but you've got to get some wins on this road trip before you get back here to Citi Field.
But you're also trying to figure out your identity, and for this to happen while you're trying to figure that out with so many new guys is just such a challenge. But coming up next, the Mets lose 8-2 in LA. They get swept by the Dodgers. They struck out 14 times in this game. We're going to hear from Bichette, who's one of the guys who did get a hit. You're watching Mercedes-Benz Postgame Live. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's go inside the stats of this game, or during the 8-game losing streak here. 1.5 runs per game during the 8-game stretch. 175 batting average, just 11 extra base hits, 470 OPS, and 118 the batting average with runners in scoring position. We're going to head back out to Dodger Stadium and hear from Bichette, who was 1 for 4 on the day.
How was Shohei's stuff today?
Good as always. He's one of the best.
How do you wrap your mind around what's going on with this team right now?
I don't really wrap my mind around it. It's tough right now. So if we knew the answer, we'd do it. But we'll keep working and try and figure it out.
What's the mood in here right now?
Well, you're in here. Everybody's upset. You know why.
How surprising is this? We all see the talent in this room since the spring training over the offseason. What is the level of surprise that this is happening?
Yeah, it's surprising, but, you go through these things. Maybe this is a bit extreme, probably, but, it doesn't help, facing two of the best in the game the last 2 days. You could be swinging the bat well and run into those guys, and they're kind of like a buzzsaw, but, yeah, I don't really got much to say other than can't explain it, and we'll keep on working to figure it out.
Have you seen any sort of commonalities in the qualities of the at-bats over the last couple of games, just up and down the line?
To be honest, the last couple of games I felt like we competed a lot better. At the end of the day, the mindset to compete, I don't really care what the at-bats look like, as long as we're in there fighting. Just two great pitchers that beat us. Obviously we got to be better, but I think the commonality is two great pitchers.
So that's interesting. He said that he felt like they competed better the last couple of games. What's your assessment on that?
I said the same thing. I said that there was some things that you could take away from it that were good competitive at-bats, both against Yamamoto and against Ohtani tonight. The difference is that they got great pitching performances by their guys as well, with Clay Holmes tonight and Nolan McLean last night. And the difference is the big clutch hits, the couple of big clutch hits, and the Dodgers were able to come up with those to get over the top, and the Mets were not. The Mets had a couple of opportunities last night. They didn't have a lot of opportunities tonight. They had a couple tough plays, as I said, the Alvarez play, and then that turns that inning to just a one-run inning, which could have been a 2 or 3 run inning. So you don't get a lot of opportunities when you got great pitchers on the mound. And I agree with him that there was a lot of compete there. There's just not the results coming with the compete yet, and that's what they have to put together, because at the end of the day, this is a results-driven business. You've got to drive in runs. You got to score more than the other guy, and you got to win more games than you lose to be able to stick around in this game, and that's what that has to change going forward.
It sounds simple, but you're absolutely right. You mentioned Clay Holmes. So we'll talk pitching. Clay Holmes threw 5 innings, allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, struck out 4, threw 88 pitches, improved his ERA to 1.96. Clearly, hamstring not an issue anymore, at least knock on wood. So let's go back out and hear from the starter out in LA.
How'd you feel out there?
I feel like I got better as the game went on. There's pitches early that kind of weren't the best, and obviously the defense picked me up. But I feel like I kind of settled in and started making some good pitches. Obviously the pitch there. They went for a homer, probably just got a little too comfortable, with the sinker in zone there, and he made me pay. But I feel like I got stronger, and just wish I could have maybe held him a little less there.
I think it does know what the team's going through right now. 8 in a row, and not scoring a lot of runs and such. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't think you can look around and point fingers. It's not just the offense. Sometimes it's going to happen, and as pitchers, we got to be better and win games. Obviously, tonight I wasn't good enough, so I think it's you got to look to win games as a team. You lose them as a team. It's not just one person, one side of the ball. But I think everybody knows it's once we get going, it's we're going to be good, and there's going to be a lot of momentum. It's just getting the ball rolling here. It's been tough here lately, but there's a lot of confidence in the people in here, and I think we're going to get it going here.
How does a team, the roster this talented, lose 8 in a row?
It's a good question. It's baseball. I think if we had an answer, I don't think we definitely don't want to be in this spot. It's just one of those things. Sometimes things just when you're pitching, when you're not hitting, and you go on those stretches where it's tough. But like I said, I think there's no pointing fingers. I think everybody's got to take it upon himself to do what you got to do to help the team win. There's pitching. You can always pitch better. I think that you just got to go out and have that mentality that we're going to win no matter what. If we got to win 1-0, we'll do it. If we win 12-10, we can do that too. So I think it's just you got to show up and figure out how to win. Like I said, there's a lot of belief in the room here, and I know we believe that once we get this thing rolling, that it's going to be hard to stop. But we just got to get the momentum going here.
You mentioned belief. What is it specifically about this team that tells you guys can withstand a stretch like this and bounce back from this kind of low play?
There's a lot of really good players in here. A lot of good pitchers, a lot of good hitters. We have a great defense. I don't think it's what people have done in the past is way better than kind of what we're doing right now, and what we we can do in the future. And so you can't just look at this couple of games and say this defines us or this is who we are. There's a bigger picture. As hard as it is in these stretches, there's a history, and there's also a future where we know we can go, and you got to take those into account too. And I think it still gives a lot of belief. So it doesn't make it any easier. You got to show up and put the work in and figure out how to do it together. It's a new opportunity. We'll come have the off day and show up, and it's another opportunity to kind of get it going.
Do you think you guys need to, meet or do something on the off day tomorrow to try to reset a little bit here?
We're probably going to get in pretty late here. I'm sure people will be resting up. A few day games coming up, so I think the big thing is kind of rest. We've been doing things. People have been hanging out. We've had our dinners, and it's cool to see how guys are coming together. And sometimes it may take a little adversity to help speed that up, but that's definitely it's been happening, and it's fun to see.
Has there been any addressing of this team wide in this room?
As far as what?
Just you guys have your daily meetings, but is anything bigger in terms of addressing how this has gone wrong and what you can do to fix it?
There's a lot of conversations, whether it's small groups, one-on-one. Our team's been together, a couple times. It's one of those things where, people are doing the right things, and it's easy to say that and do that, and you don't get the results, but I do think that just the way people are connecting and talking, and what we believe we can do is still there. It's not like people are hanging their heads or just don't want to show up to the field. You don't get that sense. So, like I said, it's just got to keep pushing here.
So, Todd, you heard his assessment of his night. What did you notice about his start?
Well, first of all, I want to say that anytime I listen to Clay, I think he's very thoughtful. I think he's very honest. And I think he had a couple of things to say that are a little bit different about the fact that there's been a past. They think there's a future, and they've got to find a way to get to there. But about him personally, I thought it was interesting to listen to him say that he thought he started off a little bit rocky and then got better as the game going on. And I noticed that he had real heavy, his normal sinker usage before the home run to Hyesung Kim. And then after that, the sinker usage went way down, but look at that sweeper went way up. He obviously started feeling like the sweeper was an effective pitch for him. He went in with a game plan. You see the changeup got used a lot early and then less as he went on, and he was realizing that he could land the sweeper and be able to get the swings and misses or the soft contact. And that's one of the things that makes him such a quality veteran pitcher. We see early on the ball that just gets down the line here past Beatty, and then this is the one to Hyesung Kim. You see that's a sinker that stayed up, middle. Usually he's got really late dive on it. So after that, he started going to the secondary pitches, gets a strikeout right there with Muncy on the curveball, and then the sweeper back-to-back in here. He goes very, very good, tight sweepers right there, inside, outside, and then once again down. 3 sweepers in a row to strike out there, and then the good changeup to get Hyesung Kim his next time at bat. So I thought it was a good performance from the perspective of he gave you innings, he gave you an opportunity to win, but you also saw why Clay Holmes, I think, is such a quality starting pitcher, is he recognized that something wasn't working well for him early on, and he was able to adjust his game plan to go after arguably the best lineup in all of baseball and still be effective.
You took the words right out of my mouth. To make an in-game adjustment against the Dodgers, no less, and still be effective is so impressive. Well, still to come here on Mercedes-Benz Postgame Live. The Mets just finished a stretch of 9 straight games heading into the off day. We're going to look ahead to the Chicago series, and it was Jackie Robinson Day. We're going to hear from Mendy on that. We'll be back after the break.